Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode of Rebuilding Stockport, the analysis days. Now, I'm actually recording this the day after. Normally with these videos, I just like to jump straight in after I've recorded the final episode of the season and get stuck in straight into some analysis. But, well, as you could probably understand, I kind of just needed to take some time. I don't think I've ever spent as long recording as I did yesterday. Sorry, I've got the hiccups. In all my years doing YouTube, to be honest, I started recording at I think it was 8:30 yesterday morning, and I think we eventually finished at just after 6, trying to get all that stuff done. The reason that they normally don't take as long as that is because often what I'll do with off-camera games is if we get ourselves into a position where we're winning quite comfortably, I'll just switch it to key highlights, because after that I'm not too bothered about analysing the tactics myself, and it makes the games a lot quicker. What I was having to do a lot of those off-camera games was move them to comprehensive to try and figure out what on earth was going on. And to be honest, I still don't fully understand it myself, because at the end of midway through last season, when we got to that point where we were flying away with the league and everything was going perfectly, we were conceding a fair number of goals, but not a lot. We were still top 10 in terms of goals conceded, which was fine, and massively out in front on goals scored. And then before even Liam Miller got injured, things just started to change. And the thing is, there was no updates to the game, not at that point anyway. So I really don't know what caused that, and I think Liam Miller really was the catalyst for that, to just the arse to fall out of us at that point. And as you saw when he came back, he wasn't great against Fulham, but the performance against Millwall summed it up, basically, why Liam Miller is so important to this team. Now, I'm going to make a couple of predictions as to what I think we're going to need to strengthen next year. And I think it should go without saying, really. It's the defence. We've conceded 80 goals in the Championship in a season where we've won it. We did score 129, which is a new record. I think it was set in the 20s, was 122. So we've smashed it, which is awesome. Fulham also smashed the record for being the team, I believe, with the highest points total to not win the league. And Norwich, to get 90 points and not go up is staggeringly unfortunate for them. But there you go. But yeah, I think the defence is the one area where I probably want to buy 5 or 6 new defenders during this window, in all honesty, and maybe a new centre mid. That's just my prediction for now. Now, I promised I'd show you guys the other leagues before I jumped into anything else, because some of you might be tuning into this that don't normally, just because you want to see that. So we'll do that stuff first, even though we're 3 minutes into this video, but I apologise for that. This is what we're normally like over here on this side of my channel. So let's get the league table up, then we'll go up to the profile page. Just going to have a sip of my coffee. These videos are a lot less edited, as you could probably already tell, new people. I just sort of talk for an hour. It's kind of like a podcast, basically. So, Manchester City won the league. Huge surprise there. 8 points clear of Manchester United. Watford, though, coming 6th, and Newcastle coming 7th. That is pretty cool. But more importantly, Tottenham came 9th. What is going on there? Burnley, QPR, and Sheffield United go down. Cardiff actually stayed up in the end, which is quite impressive. Palace in there too. Cardiff doing all right, having a few seasons in the Premier League. Pietro Pellegrini ended up being the top scorer, but Steve West and John Guidetti for Arsenal right in there as well. So that's pretty damn cool. Okay, let's just start jumping down the leagues. We obviously don't care about this league because we were in it and we bloody won it. In the League One, Nottingham Forest win it with 88 points. Not a massive surprise there. Brentford also coming up with them. Again, not hugely surprising there. Walsall, it'd be cool for them to go to the Championship. Crewe, Pompey and Bury. Relegated, Port Vale, Burton Albion. Barnet, no! My boys! I've grown to like Barnet now. I've taken them under my wing as my sort of, my younger brother club at this point. And Billericay, their money couldn't save them in League One, unfortunately. I think it was just a bridge too far for them, perhaps. We'll see how they do later in the save. Okay, down to League 2. I thought there was someone interesting that got relegated. Yeah, Northampton Town relegated from the Football League along with Telford United, which is a shame for both Telford, who couldn't survive, and Northampton to drop out of the Football League. That must be, maybe the first time ever. I don't actually know. Northampton fans, let me know. Newport County winning the league with 99 points. That is an astonishingly large number. The fact, actually, whoa, my God. Exeter came second with 95 and Rochdale got 92. That's a lot. Lincoln, Accrington Stanley, Forest Green and MK Dons there. Now, the final league that I have turned on in England is, of course, the National League. And getting relegated from that is... Oh, hello. Let's just go back to the league table. Orient coming up with 91. Fylde doing well, along with Wycombe, Hereford, Wrexham, Notts County and Crawley Town. Salford didn't even get into the playoffs this year. Down go Wealdstone, Warrington, Borehamwood and Maidenhead United. So there you go. Wait, did I sign an affiliate? I think I signed another affiliate agreement with Salford. I might not have even mentioned that in the videos, since there's so much stuff. I think we pretty much have another affiliate and it's Salford City. I just thought we'd do it for the bants, if nothing else. Right, so other leagues around Europe, which is quite important. Now, the best way I think we can get to those would be to, leagues in focus. Where is it? Is it in? Here we go. Where we can see the other leagues. So, yeah, Liga Santander. Maybe not do it like that. Yeah. Is that the one? This is what I mean. Right, there we go. Real Madrid, basically, oh my God, that's not a lot of points, I must say, actually. It's very, very tight. Atletico up there too. Bilbao, Barcelona, Sevilla, Valencia, Celta Vigo, down go Getafe, Girona, and Osasuna. Any surprise team? Oh, Real Oviedo, top flight team now. Lovely old job. Right, okay. That's interesting to see. Well, I mean, Ligue 1 was hardly going to be hugely surprising. PSG topped the league, won it every year in this save, plus 67 goal difference. No problem, lads, what you're complaining about. Clermont Foot go down with Dijon and Guingamp. So, they haven't gone down yet. And look at that. That is tight at the bottom between them, Reims and Stade Rennais. Strasbourg doing all right. That's nice. Any surprise packages there? Not really. If you do notice anything interesting, do point it out to me, because I tend to just give these a little bit of a glance. Oh, wrong button again, Matt. Great stuff. Serie A. Napoli look to have, well, they're not won it yet, although Juventus down in 6th place. Can we talk about that? Can we also talk about the fact that Roma won the league in the first season of this save? Cittadella in the top flight with Pro Vercelli, although they are looking relegated, and Frosinone going down too. Any other massive surprises in there? Not that I can really see. Cotrone doing all right as top scorer in Serie A, though. Nice to see. In the Bundesliga, well, this is what I was talking about. I don't know what's happened to Stuttgart, but they are pretty much champions of the Bundesliga, unless they lose both their games and Bayern win both their games. So that's pretty incredible, in all honesty. Really nice to see. Down go Mainz, Werder Bremen, and Ingolstadt. Wow, look at these points totals. This is 2 wins all year for Ingolstadt. That's not good, guys. That is not good. Scotland, well, you can see Celtic dominating, as you would probably expect. Second tier in France, Montpellier look to have not wrapped it up, but fairly close to that. Hanover doing well in the German one, and I don't think I had any more leagues turned on that were of relevance to that so far. So yeah, that's the other leagues around. Now let's actually get into the stats. Right, so we're here on the stats page where we all want to be. We're going to just sort of brush through this a little bit because I don't know how much of this stuff is that important. There's a few things I do want to concentrate on, but for the most part, it's just kind of like, here's how we did. The player ones are more important and the deep stuff, obviously. So possession, we did well. Penalties taken, we actually didn't have that many. Fulham apparently had the referees in their back pocket this year. Brilliant. Why can't that be real life? Headers won mid-table, sort of. In fact, very much mid-table, though. Bournemouth, Fulham, and Norwich all down there. But I guess when you're, not having to defend so many crosses, so it makes sense. So in terms of headers won, we are actually up towards the top, which is actually a really good sign for me, which maybe leads to the idea that perhaps our defensive frailties are coming from other places. And I just believe that tactically, obviously this tactic is never going to be wonderful in terms of conceding goals. The idea is you score more than the others. However, for the remaining part of the season, we tended to be in the position where we weren't really doing that much. And I think just having a higher caliber of defender, in theory, would help us with that. But we can take a look at the stats on that a little bit deeper to try and figure it out. We did end up with the most yellow cards in the end, but at one point we were a lot further clear than that. And you'll see what I mean when we get to the fouls. We didn't have a lot of reds, though, is what I would say. But Hull City had 6 red cards. We only had 1, so that's not too bad. We were just a bit foully. Form is irrelevant at this point. Attacking, obviously, we scored 129 goals, which is ridiculous to score 39 more than anyone else. 20 corners. No wonder we were so good. We actually got our corners back, which is nice. Cross completion ratio, 19% too. So you can see where our goals are coming from. Well, you could see that just from watching the games. It's crosses in to the back post or to the central striker with the ball over the top. The goals we're scoring are very similar to each other, and the goals we're conceding are very similar to each other. And I think it's just up to me to try and plug the holes on the ones we're conceding whilst still allowing us to score the ones that we're scoring. That is the ultimate battle in these things. Crosses completed, over 100 more than anyone else. We were the crossing machines. Goals from corners, 20 this year. Now, I think last season, we were nowhere on this list. And I don't really know what's changed because the routine is the same. So I'm a bit confused as to why we've suddenly got better. I haven't been training defending set pieces or anything like that. Attacking set pieces. Maybe slightly better personnel? I really don't know what it is. But we've been much better from corners this year. And I think that alone has been responsible for a good upturn, although I think it might have got worse towards the season. So from direct free kicks, I actually thought we were better than we were, but it turns out we only scored once from a direct free kick this year, which does baffle me to no end. When you look at the number of free kicks being scored and the number we've seen the AI being able to score, we've got a player who has, I think, 17 free kicks, and it's Callum Gribben, and you've seen how many free kicks the guy's scored for us in the past, and yet he only got 1 all season this year. That is a bit weird. And that was the one against Blackburn. Thankfully, I think it did turn out to be the winner in that game. But that is a little bit strange that we've just suddenly not been able to score these. What about indirect free kicks? Is it the same story? Not so bad from indirects. We've got a few from indirects, as I said towards the start of the year. Although what I would say is that I'm pretty certain all 5 of those came in the early parts of the year when I was really noticing how many we were getting from these indirect free kicks. So that seems to have dropped off too. Interesting. Pass completion, 77%. It's not bad, but it could definitely be better. And I think having a slightly... I honestly think that Regan Booty might not be Premier League quality for us. I know it's not really a stretch to say, because a lot of our players are already punching above their weight. I think Andy Davidson is capable of making the step up, but I just think Regan, it might be a bridge too far for him. And that's a shame. It really, really is. We don't actually make a lot of passes too. Chances created, though, 159 chances created. You can bet your boots our players are going to be all over the chances created charts. Shots on target, 46%. It's up there where it needs to be. Shots on target, 450, over 100 more. Conversion rate, nice 13%. That's what I like to see. Fouls against, we don't get fouled much. That's another issue, I think. Maybe the reason we're not conceding or scoring so many free kicks is because we're not winning a lot of fouls, which is weird for me because we have dribble more on all of our players, and you feel like that would encourage teams to foul us. Interesting there. And we have a lot of possession in games too, so you feel like we'd concede a lot of fouls. Anyone got any ideas as to why we're not winning that many fouls? Like, because that, to me, 485, if we were to say up 100 on that, I feel like that's worth another couple of goals to us in a season, frankly, just from our set-piece ability. Interesting. Let me know your thoughts on that. Dribbles per game, 9. We top the league on dribbles per game, and that's what I wanted to see last year. Notice that Bournemouth and Fulham are both up there too. Norwich, they're a bit of an outlier on these things. Defending, ooh dear. Very, very poor. Only 8 goals off the worst in the league. And at one point, we were sort of hovering around these sort of areas, so it wasn't the end of the world, but we had some really poor performances. The 5 against Ipswich, the 5 against Fulham, these sort of performances. Just, yeah. Goals conceded from corners, 8. Yeah, we've not been so good at defending set pieces this season either. It does feel like there's been a lot of that. Conceded from direct free kicks, 3. Not as bad as some teams, to be fair. And to be fair, once I switched over to staying on feet, we haven't conceded one of these yet. And indirect free kicks, we were even worse with 6. Not as bad as Bristol City, though. So definitely some areas to look at. Clean sheets. I mean, we had 6 all season. That's pretty abysmal, but that's what you expect. Now, fouls made. This is quite an important one. We're 5th on this one, but when I was looking at it before, we were top by about 30 fouls. Something ridiculous. You might notice that now, not only are we not top, but we are miles away from top. So we've really slumped down on that one. The lack of conceding free kicks. Now, it is going to cost us a few goals every now and then because people staying on their feet might be part of the reason why players were able to cut inside and score more long shots. And this is my problem. It's sort of a catch-22. We're staying on our feet, which means players aren't lunging in and making those tackles to block those long shots, so they're scoring them. But if we do make those tackles, we concede more fouls, which means that they score more free kicks. So it's a bit of a... yeah, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't in that kind of situation. I think just having a higher caliber of player probably will help us with that one. Tackles 1, sort of mid-table on that one. Tackles 1 ratio, though, we're right up towards the top, and that's what I like to see. Penalties conceded, only 3, could be worse. Could be Swansea, good God. Average attendance, of course, ours is bottom of the league. Nearly a sellout, except we're not allowed to sell out. Maybe that will change when we, in the next year's Premier League, hopefully we can try and get the stadium sorted because something needs to change with that. We need to buy the stadium at least. Hopefully the board will invest a load of money since we're basically spending nothing here. Stadium sellouts, of course, we get 0, which is annoying. Highest attendance, obviously ours is the lowest. Lowest attendance, yeah, weirdly not the lowest, which is surprising. Net transfer spend, well, we actually made 1.7 million, mostly because of the Ethan O'Kane sale. Southampton, however, made nearly 70 million. Salary per annum as well, 51 million pounds Southampton's salary. Ours, 4.3 million. Lowest salary in the league, spending 10 times less, more than 10 times less than Southampton, and there we are winning the division. We're still punching above our weight, that's for sure, but next season in the Premier League is going to be a scrap. I know I've said that before, but when you look at the way we played towards the end of this season, and I've really had to put every ounce of even vague tactical knowledge, which is not a lot, let's face it, into trying to keep us just in the race for the title. We really did slop off. I think the Premier League is going to be very, very difficult, but with the transfer funds, we'll do our best to keep the core of the squad around, particularly the forward areas, and then try to really strengthen the back, because we've got goals in this team, that is for sure. It's just the defensive side of things that needs a massive step up, and I think that's where I'm going to spend 90% of that £25 million is probably going to be spent on defenders and defensive players, particularly centre-backs. I want to get a pair of 4-star, 5-star centre-backs. That's the kind of thing we need. If I have to spend 10 million on each one of them, and we will still pick up a load of youngsters because, again, the main thing with this save, it's still about building a team up. Signing them young, building them up, maybe selling a few of them on, but building them from the young age. It's just more fun for me to do that. And if it takes us a couple of extra seasons, then I'm more than happy for that to be the case because it's fun, you know? Right, let's move on to players since we're already 20 minutes into this goddamn video. Player detailed. I'm going to have another sip of my coffee while this loads. So games won, obviously that's going to be us. Games lost were not that important. Yellow cards. Regan Booty did get 9 and John Gray also got 9. Red cards, we shouldn't have anyone on here. Regan Poole got 1. That's fine. Player of the match. Costinha for Fulham got 10 Player of the Match awards. No wonder. John Okoro got 6, though, and Liam Miller got 4. Despite only playing 26 times for us this year, he got 4 Man of the Match awards. What could he have been if he'd played the full year? Distance covered per 90 minutes. Brahim Diaz won it last year, but again, Callum Gribbin not far behind. Nerfville in there too. Burton and Booty. So you can already see that Vashon Nerfville outruns Keith Burton. Considering Burton's start, Nerfville just forced his way back into the team. Fair play to him on that one. Average rating, John Okoro, highest average rating in the league, 7.67. Elanga, and hello, Andy Davidson snuck in there at the last moment for a 7.31. This is what I mean. John Gray up there too with a 7.23. We missed John Gray when he didn't play. That period of games where I think he really is so important. He needs a good centre-back partnership for me. Basic has been okay, but he was responsible for a lot of mistakes towards the end. Booty not bad there too. Juro, Nerfville, Callum Gribbin. We've got a lot of players in the top charts here. Headers 1. Wow, we actually do have John Gray in there. Just dominating things. Interesting to see. Goals, top goal scorer in the league. Juro with 25. Okoro with 20. Miller with 16. That is actually impressive. The fact that John Okoro got 20 league goals this year. Let's just have a look at John Okoro's stats. How's he doing? 20 goals and 18 assists this year. I think I pointed this out in the last video, but he's now declared for England, which actually makes my life a little bit easier because I can still give him those wage clause contracts because it's going to be slightly harder for him to get an international call-up. So that's not too bad. Who's he wanted by? Probably someone quite big, I would have thought. Wanted by Spal, kind of interestingly. Let's look at his career stats. He's just got better upon better. Last year, 16 goals and 13 assists, I thought was the zenith for him. But this year, he's added 4 extra goals and 5 extra assists in 2 fewer games. Now, obviously, he ain't going to be doing that in the Premier League, but you can't go wrong. This guy's been fantastic for us. He's played in all 4 Football League divisions so far for us too. He's a legend of this club. In a weird way, he's probably more of a legend than Bruno Bridges in some ways, and he's still only 19 years old. That's the other key thing. 4-star at the moment. Still got another 3 years before we really know what his potential is going to be like. I mean, he could just keep getting better and better and better, and long may it continue, as you know I like to say. So, back into where we are. Minutes per goal. Juro, of course, right up there. John Okoro doing nicely as well. Adam Ida was on here, but unfortunately he's not played enough games now for that to be the case. It's such a shame for him, really. I think that injury for him was the death of his season, because Juro came in and did such a good job that he had to keep his spot in the team, frankly. You know, I don't want to drop players who are playing well. Shots, Coldershaw up there, Juro with 124, Gribbin with 107, and Davidson 106. Shots on target, Juro up there too. Okoro in there too, which is very interesting. His shots on target percentage must be astonishing. Wow. Liam Miller, 69% shots on target ratio. Does anyone want to guess why Miller and Okoro are so important to this team? Look at this. This, for me, is why we don't play well when we don't have Miller and Okoro, or at least one of them. Although, frankly, both of them. 69% and 68% shots on target ratio. They've scored around about 35, 36 goals between them. In fact, we can see 36 goals between them. Now, when you look at, like, even the 20th best player in this league has a shots on target ratio of a full 13% less than these two. And that's not the next best player on our team. That's the 20th best player in the league. You can see now why someone like Ennis or Fazic or Benamar, when they play, they're just not having the same impact on scorelines and chances. These guys hit the target regularly, so unbelievably regularly. It's almost uncanny how much they hit the target. And I think we've just identified why they're so important to this team. Because if you put shots on target, you're going to score goals. Goalkeeper can't save everything, and that's kind of proven. Conversion rate, interestingly, Adam Ida with the highest of 26%. Okoro, 23. Miller, 20. Juro, 20. Again, nobody else from our team to be seen from those wing positions. They put the ball in the net. This is why I love doing these episodes. It really is, because this, to me, this is something I wouldn't have even thought about. Like, sure, they're getting in these positions, but why aren't we scoring? Because they're not hitting the target enough, and they're not converting their chances, whereas Miller, Okoro, Ida, and Juro are. I feel like Ida could have done a decent job for us up top, frankly. When you look at him, actually, 12 goals in 11 appearances from the start. He obviously made a few subs. I think he would have done a fine job, but Duro was just that little bit better in total. Team goals on the pitch for Louis Molden, 126. Penalties, Victor Fisher scored 7 of 9. We are not even on the list. And as for assists, it's a very similar story. John Okoro, 18 assists. I mean, that is astonishingly good. And he got a lot of that once he returned from injury. He got those 3 in the game against Ipswich. I think he got 3 more in that game against Millwall for us. He was just stacking up assists for Liam Miller. And Miller's still got 14, remember? Like, he's no slouch either. I mean, it's very well worth mentioning that Liam Miller basically missed half the season. He's missed 19 matches this year Liam Miller has not played in. I mean, that is an awful lot. He's played 13 less games than John Okoro. You feel like he would have smashed the 20 assists mark. I think John Okoro has now beaten our record, which was Che Tilt's record of 17. But still, Gribben in there as well with 12. Davidson with 10. That's a huge step up for me from Andy Davidson. I feel like that's his best season by far. Yeah, it is massively his best season by far. He had a great year in League One. This year, technically his average rating isn't as good as he was in League One because of the no player of the match awards and less goals, but 10 assists in the Championship is definitely his best year for us by a country mile. Fair play to the lad, and still looking good there, Andy. Right, so moving down, key passes. Well, we always knew this was going to be dominated by us. Callum Gribben, Andy Davidson, and even John Okoro's in there. I expected Booty to be on there too. He's right down at the bottom though, still in there. Duro in there as well, but again, John Okoro, the key pass machine, because he creates so many chances. And here you can see 26 chances created this year. John Okoro, 17 for Gribben, 16 for Duro, 14 for Miller, 14 for Davidson, Fazic with 11, and Nerfville with 10. But again, the likes of Benamar, nowhere to be seen. Now, obviously, they played less matches. So these ones you can take with a pinch of salt. It's the percentage ones and the ratio ones that really, really matter. Pass completion, nobody to be seen. I think our best completion actually is Liam Henderson with 84. Cross completion, irrelevant. John Okoro, 25% cross completion for John Okoro. I hope he stays with us forever. This guy could seriously destroy a league one day if he keeps playing like this. I know it's the Championship, but these are unreal stats. Because look at these guys. These are all central players who don't get that many crosses. Gribben is a central player. Shashua, central. Booty, central. Josh Onoma, central midfield. John Okoro is the highest rated wide player in there. And none of our other players get there at all. Dribbles per game. Frano Fazic actually topping the charts on this one. This is strange. I feel like we'd have more on this, but there you go. Another key thing to note for me is that John Gray has the most key tackles in the league. 20 key tackles. Basic with 16. That's the thing. I think Regan Poole, I'd be interested to see what their key tackles per game looks like. Ethan led up there on 14 too, though. It's good to see. I'll be interested to see how he actually compares to the rest of the team, though. That's kind of the most important thing. 87 key headers for John Gray as well. Basic on 64, which is nice. Interceptions. John Gray again, 143. He's just better than the other players in this team. Headers 1 ratio. John Gray, 82. It's a bit low. Bit low. Shots blocked, I wouldn't imagine we've got anyone on there. Of course, it's John Gray. He's just a monster. Goalkeeping, yeah. Louis Molden, 77 goals conceded, but it doesn't matter because, we won the league and all that. Right, yeah, that's enough of that. Let's take a look at the actual player stats. This is where things start to get very, very interesting. Okay, so centre-back analysis. Really, we're only looking at Gray, Basic and Regan Poole. I can't think of any more that have actually really played. Mikic played a game there, and obviously Cameron John, I think, played some games earlier in the year, but he's of course left now. So it's really between these three to see who's kind of been the best player for us in these positions this year. Now, obviously, Gray's played the most minutes, Basic in behind, but Regan Poole still played a fair amount of games. He started 21 times for us this year, so it's fair to say he's done all right. Pass completion, Regan Poole, 82%. With the ball at his feet, Regan Poole is definitely a very good player. Now, we knew that anyway, though, since everyone was telling me, he could be a libero kind of thing. So he's definitely a good player with the ball at his feet. But that's not really what I care about for my centre-backs at the moment. We're not playing a system with like big ball playing centre-backs. So his having good pass completion is nice, but it shouldn't come at the expense of every other part of his game, So team goals per 90 minutes. This is goals scored. Basic and Poole, it's kind of fairly close. Key passes per 90 minutes, it's a similar story, but Poole again with the most. Basic and Gray, but these are sort of attacking elements. Team conceded per 90 minutes. You can see that Basic, we can see the most goals with him in the team. And again, Regan Poole, actually the least. Although John Gray not too bad in there too. So this does make me think that perhaps Slobodan Basic is possibly the weak link of our defensive trio here. But we'll move on. That being said, he has got the highest tackles won ratio, but it is very, very tight. 92 compared to the lowest of 90. So it's no huge surprise there. But Regan Poole does certainly lack on the interceptions, whereas Basic and Gray are very good at that side of the game, or at least certainly better. Gray, great in the air. Basic, not fantastic. And Poole, dreadful. Like 62% for a centre-back. That's still, I think, that's like Ethan O'Kane numbers. How tall is Regan Poole? He must be taller than Ethan O'Kane. 5'10". This is the thing. Basic, how tall is Slobodan Basic? 6'3". you'd expect better heading stats from a 6'3" player. Jon Gray, he's only 6'2", and yet he's winning like 9% more headers. This is the thing. I want to go and find some 6'4" towering centre-backs, basically, because I think height is incredibly important, and that's where we really do need to improve. I think Jon Gray could still do a job for us in the Premier League, but I just don't know about Basic. I'm just not sure about him. He's fine. Let's just take a look at his stats in a little bit more detail. We can definitely do that, I think. Stats. Yeah, here we go. Passes completed is fine. Tackles 92. Shots, not that relevant, to be honest. I wish there was a way that you could just get access to way more stats. I might have to take a look at these in a bit more detail, but you can see the 9 heading. You'd still think, though, he'd be winning a decent number of headers being 6'3", with decent jumping reach, but you could see our best defender is a 3-star, and that is a real glaring omission for us. So I think Jon Gray has definitely got chops that could play in the Premier League, but maybe as a backup, I honestly think that 2 4-star plus centre-backs is probably where we need. Tall, powerful, good centre-backs to really marshal the defence in this team. And I think that could make a massive difference for us going forward. And I think that's what we're basically going to do there. But I already kind of knew that's what I wanted to do. I just don't think Basic has got it for us, to be honest. I mean, you look at his average rating as well, it's the lowest. So maybe we could cash in on Slobodan Basic, get some money for him in the summer, but he's not worth a huge amount. He had a great start to the year, and then he really did just sort of fade away towards the end. I wish you could see like a form chart over a larger period of matches. Like, I don't know if you can actually do it from here. Yeah, see, it'll only show the last 20 matches here, but you can see, look, 5.7, there's a 7.7 in there and an 8. But for the most part, it's 6s and like relatively poor performances for the most part in it. It's not a solid performance, it's fair to say. So yeah, centre-backs, I want to sign at least 2 of them. But that's the looking at it right now. But 2 would be fine with Jon Gray as a potential backup. Now, fullback analysis, this is going to be an interesting one. I feel like all of these players can count. Bruno Bridges has still started 7 games for us this season and played nearly 700 minutes. So I feel like he's still available to be compared to the others, isn't he, really? In terms of minutes, obviously, Ethan Laird dominates. Nerfil, Burton, Mikic just played over 1,000 minutes too, so this is going to be interesting. Assists, I'm not that bothered, but assists per 90 minutes, I am bothered. Nerfil, again, comes out on top of Keith Burton, not by much, but enough. And you can see as well, Ethan Laird, massively better than Bruno Bridges, although he did still get one. Mikic didn't get any when he played, so he probably will excel more in the defensive side of the game than the attacking one, it's fair to say. Although Ethan Laird, definitely the best one in that position. But I also think that Ethan Laird, despite getting that many assists, if we had a player with better crossing in that position, which is another area I really want to look at, I think that could have been double, frankly. A player with like 11 or 12 crossing in that position, with the same kind of athleticism, but a little bit more perhaps. Honestly, I think a right back is very much on my shopping list, like massively, just like it was last year, and we muddled through this year with it, but that's an area I definitely want to improve. Chances created per 90 minutes. Now you can sort of see Keith Burton creates more chances, but they don't turn into everything as much. So that's what I would say about Keith Burton. I think that he's a very creative player. He can clearly put stuff on a plate, and they're just not finishing his chances. Now, that could mean that the position the players are ending up in isn't quite as high a quality chance, because this doesn't really seem to distinguish between half chance and clear cut, and I don't know whether it counts both of them on this one. So it could be that Burton's creating more half chances than Vashon Nerfil. Laird, of course, outperforming Mikic and Bruno Bridges again, as you would expect. So Burton and Nerfil, the battle is raging on here, though. So they've got 1 each so far. Very interesting indeed. Passing, Ethan Laird, again, top of the table on that one, with Mikic and Bruno Bridges right in behind. Nerfil just slightly above Burton, but it's very much, that's negligible difference, where that's basically dead even for me. Passes completed per 90 minutes. Now, it's not super important, but again, they're very, very close. Mikic actually outdoes the other 2 on that one. Bruno Bridges, again, the bottom. I expect to be the bottom of most of these things. Key passes per 90 minutes. This is, again, Keith Burton. That is a noticeable improvement over Vashon Nerfil for Keith Burton. I do wonder, maybe, if we'd gone with Keith Burton for the entire season, as you look at his average rating in the end, he actually ends up coming out better than Vashon Nerfil. Maybe Nerfil tired off towards the end of the year, and maybe Burton would have been a better option in that one. But Burton had this weird thing where he either had fantastic games or really poor games. Towards the start of the year, it was fantastic game after fantastic game after fantastic game, but it kind of just dropped off towards the end. But that's a noticeable increase in key passes. And, a key pass is a pass that leads directly to a shot, and the more of them you have, the better. So you want players in the squad that are creating the most of them, and maybe the fact that he's not got that many, it's not that many less assists per 90 minutes, to be honest. It's a negligible difference. And maybe over a larger sample size, it would have actually gone more in his favour. Key passes, again, Mikic and Laird, it's all relatively negligible on that side too. But again, dribbles per game, Keith Burton massively, well, not massively, but definitely 25% better than Vashon Nerfil. So he's really starting to extend himself here, despite that. And it makes me wonder if I should accept a bid in the summer for Vashon Nerfil, because we've had some big bids, up to nearly £1 million in the January transfer window for Nerfil from teams in League One, which was very strange. Nottingham Forest came in with a huge bid for him. And I do wonder if he might be the sort of player I could move on, particularly if I plan on bringing in a new player in that role and have Burton as their understudy as well. Just noticing these things. Shots on target, not super important. Cross completion, this is important. Right, so crosses completed. They're basically dead even. I mean, that's fair to say. And you can see the difference that Mikic has. Despite, he's only got 9 crossing, but his dribbling, I guess he's not getting into the positions to put as many crosses in. But even with, I feel like if Ethan Laird had Racit Mikic's crossing, he'd have probably got another 3 assists this year. It's fair to say. He's got that extra sort of 30% cross completion. Sorry, not an extra 30%, you know what I mean? 30% better cross completion, which is really responsible for a lot of chances created. What you really want from that position is you want someone who can get sort of 17%, 18 kind of percentages on both wings, because it's super important to get Liam Miller those chances, as we've seen how much he can hit the target when put into those positions. So yeah, Burton and Nerfil, again, tying, but Burton I still feel like might be the better option in these situations. Right, team conceded per 90 minutes. This is super important. So Mikic, so there you go, Ethan Laird and Keith Burton, we conceded a lot less goals with those two in the team. Nerfil clearly doesn't have the same level of defensive ability, although that's because he played more when the downturn started, but maybe the downturn started because we started playing Vashon Nerfil. I complained a lot about him in that Fulham game, and I feel like maybe Burton wouldn't have made those mistakes. Who knows? We concede less goals with him and Ethan Laird in the team. Mikic particularly is very bad when he's in the team, and Nerfil isn't great either. Bruno Bridges has done an alright job though, to be fair to him. Mistakes leading to goals, Nerfil's made one of those. Tackles 1 ratio, Nerfil 90... look, now that is interesting. 94% tackles won, down to Keith Burton 78%. That is wholly unacceptable. What's his tackling like? 11. Compared to Vashon Nerfil's tackling of 11. I mean, that is a huge 16% drop-off. That is noteworthy to me. Why he's got such bad tackling. Is there another thing about him? Is there any low stats? Determination, long shots, heading, penalty taking, finishing? What's his positioning like? 9? It's not the worst. It's interesting that his tackling is so bad. Maybe his low determination is affecting it in a little bit. I don't know. That is interesting, actually. Let me know what you think about that. So, weirdly, he's winning less tackles, but we concede less goals with him in the team. It's that's a really strange sort of paradox there. Interceptions. How are we doing on interceptions? Racit Mikic is the most. Ethan Laird, second most. Nerfil, again, better defensively. That's very interesting, actually. For all intents and purposes, Nerfil looks like a much better defender than Keith Burton. Although it could be that when Nerfil's in the team, he's having to make more interceptions than Burton. Maybe because we're controlling the game more with Burton in the team. There's always the reversal of these things, where you could look at one thing, but correlation is not causation. There's often two sides to these things. What about headers? Let's have a look at this. So Burton, I mean, they're both very, very poor, but equally poor, you would say. Ethan Laird at 70% is much better, and of course 84 for Mikic isn't a huge surprise from a 6'4" player. What about distance covered per 90 minutes? They get about a bit, basically dead even. Both with 3 Man of the Match awards each. Nerfil, slightly worse average rating. That's a very interesting one. I would love to know what you guys think about the sort of conundrum between those two, because I still want to sign a brand new right back. Is an absolute must. We must sign a quality right back in the summer with good dribbling and good crossing, and good athleticism too. If I have to spend money big there, I will. I know I said that last summer, but we barely got any money. On the left-hand side, I still want to probably sign another left-back because I'm not entirely convinced by either of them. But if I had to move one on, it probably would still be Nerfil because he's a lot older and has that potential, stoppage, so to speak. And I'd rather have someone else come in and Keith Burton play understudy to them for a year or so, just to build up his confidence a little bit, whilst I still think he could do a decent job as a backup player, maybe playing the cups for us and stuff. So yeah, that's where we're at on the fullbacks. Again, I want to sign new ones. Now, centre midfielders. Now, with this one, I know that Gribin and Fazic have both played in centre mid for us this year, but I don't want to talk about them here. I want to talk about them in the attacking midfield one so we can compare them a little bit more fairly to where they would have played for the majority of the year. So most minutes, of course, is Andy Davidson. Booty's made a fair number of 2. Liam Henderson about 1,000. Hume 300. Leckie about 300. And Stephen Lafferty only 17. So we really don't need to care about Stephen Lafferty. He's got no stats that are worth talking about here anyway. So goals, not really what they're here for, but we'll look at it anyway. Most goals per 90 minutes is Darren Leckie, but he's not really played that much. Booty has the most other than that. Andy Davidson, and it's good to see that but then Liam Henderson would have been playing in the Booty position, so you could see that over that period of matches he's not even got close to matching Regan Booty's output in that same position. You can see why I kind of thought he was hot garbage for most of the year. He really flattered to deceive. He scored that one good goal. I think it might have even been against Norwich, I think, that he scored it and then got injured, but he's been an absolute disappointment this year, like massive disappointment for me. But it's interesting, Booty obviously would have been playing that role. Leckie did all right when he did play there, although the goal he got was from a corner, to be fair, so it was a bit skewed. Right, assists, Andy Davidson massively out in front on that one. Again, Regan Booty outdoing Liam Henderson in every possible stat. Other players must have played in that Andy Davidson role. They must have. Although it feels like Andy Davidson's played, he started 42 games this year. What an absolute chief he has been for us. I cannot stress how good Andy Davidson is. And I firmly believe that this guy's got like top half Premier League kind of quality, maybe even an England international one day, which of course make his wages go through the roof. But there you go. He got 11 assists this year in all competitions. That's pretty damn good. Less goals, but that's not really his job in this team. Pass completion, Liam Henderson, sure, it's 84, but it's not any less than the others. Leckie's is actually the lowest. Hume is still all right in there. I'm very much looking forward to seeing how Hume does on the defensive side of things, to see if I've been vindicated for actually putting him in the team. Chances created per 90 minutes. Okay, how about this? Andy Davidson, wow, there you go. 0.41, not bad. Hume, 0.24. When he's been in the team, he does actually create chances, although he's created 1. So let's not read too much into that. You can see that Andy Davidson has created 17 chances this year. Booty just the 4. But again, it's a different type of position. Booty's the one usually giving the ball to Davidson to set the attacks away. Passes completed per 90 minutes. Andy Davidson is head and shoulders above everyone else at 57 passes per 90 minutes. John Hume, though, when he does play in the Regan Booty role, he does seem to pass the ball a little bit more. He's more stable, just seems to pick it up and go with it. That's fine. I'm all right with that. Key passes per 90 minutes. Interesting. Andy Davidson, of course, out in front. John Hume a little bit lower because he is more of a defensively minded player. But again, Booty outdoing Liam Henderson. Darren Leckie, though. Leckie is actually wanted, I think, he was wanted by some fairly large sides. If I can just see it from this menu. I don't know if we can. Yeah, he is wanted by some fairly large sides. And it does make you wonder if there's a reason for that, because he does seem to be an okay player, although his average rating this year has been a bit piss poor. But that might be because, it's been a few substitute appearances. He's played in some games where we've kind of been low on players and whatnot. So I guess we could say that. Mistakes leading to a goal. Henderson's made one of those. Tackles 1 ratio. Here we go. This is going to be very interesting. Oh, hello. Okay. John Hume, 67% tackles 1, despite being a defensive midfielder, essentially. That is noteworthy. Like, very much noteworthy. Now, obviously, it could just be because he's not quite there yet. But last year, he put up better numbers, and maybe it was over more games. I don't know, but that is not pleasing to me. And it means that I was operating on bad information, essentially, putting him into games to kill them off, when in fact, look how bad he is in the tackle compared to everyone else here. Davidson is actually the best tackler, but that's because he actually can play as a right back. And I think Andy Davidson does actually have decent tackling stats. It's 9, but I don't know. That's actually a bit strange. But Leckie up there, Booty, Henderson, they're all above a reasonable level, but Hume really, really low at 67%. And it's the same kind of story with interceptions, really, isn't it? Andy Davidson, again, the best defensive player in the middle as well that we have. Booty hasn't been fantastic, but again, it's Hume down at the bottom there, massively. Henderson has been better at the defensive side of the game. Now, headers 1 per 90 minutes, of course, was always going to be John Hume because he's 6'5". But again, Andy Davidson coming out on top there. This is why I think Andy Davidson is fine for next year. I think I'm quite happy to put him into the central midfield of a Premier League team, but I think he needs a better midfield partner, undeniably. Headers 1, John Hume, of course, out there, but again, Booty and Henderson struggling a bit on that one. Davidson doing just fine, doing a lovely job, to be honest. Team conceded per 90 minutes. Right, okay, this is what I'm talking about. When John Hume is in the team, we've conceded less than a goal a game when he's on the pitch. It does seem really strange. Like, he does seem to have this effect that we just don't concede that many goals. I think I can only think of one goal that we've conceded while he's been on the pitch. Obviously, that's not true, unless it counts the overall game. I don't know about that one. But Against Swansea, I brought him on, and that, of course, mucked up. So it's interesting, is to say the least. Henderson on the lower end of that, and again, Andy Davidson on the higher end of that. So he is definitely our best midfielder by an absolute country mile. Booty's second in command to him, but you can see that Booty has a lot of flaws to his game, and I feel like a better player playing in that Regan Booty role could do a much better job and maybe get into double figures for us, which means that when we do get a player to sign in this role, they absolutely have to have, I want like 15 long shots on them to really take advantage of the fact that we get players in good positions. And Booty's got long shots in his game, and since long shots are what they are at the moment, I want to make sure that we make the most of that, really. You can't be leaving stuff on the table. So essentially, what I'm looking at here is Liam Henderson can go back to Spal. We've got a couple of youngsters in the likes of Lafferty and Leckie who are just sort of around the squad. Booty's fine. John Hume, I still think, could be something for us one day. He's just not there yet. Andy Davidson is fine. I will start him in the Premier League happily, but we need to sign a a box-to-box midfielder to play alongside him. That is one of my many aims that we've got. So I want a whole new defence and another centre midfield, because I honestly think that our strike force and attacking setup actually might not need to be changed all that much for the Premier League. So let's move on to the attacking mids while we're here. With this, it really is just a case of these two. There is Liam Hunter, but he's only played 70 minutes for us this year, so it's not likely that he's going to make any impact on this particular part. Now, this is important for me because these two, it's not like we're comparing tomatoes and suspension bridges here. They are playing in the exact same role with the exact same duties. Now, of course, Frano Fazic does have comes deep to get ball, so his style of play might be slightly different to Callum Gribben. And of course, we have to bear in mind that Frano Fazic did play in that left-hand side inside forward role. So again, we have to be careful with that because I think he played there quite a lot. If we just look at what's it on? Is it on tactics? So yeah, he actually started 27 games up there. He still played his best probably performances in that role, but it's fair to say that he's played there a fair number of times for us this year, so we do have to be careful with it. He actually played on the right a few times. He's such a versatile player. That's why I love him. So also he has a new contract, unfortunately. It extended because he made 5 international appearances, and now he's on 10 grand a week. And I have actually been looking at a couple of, again, released players from some of the Premier League sides, and I noticed when I was offering them contracts that I can offer up to £90,000 a week now to players. So our wage budget has certainly improved, it's fair to say. So, goals per 90 minutes. I mean, it's not even a contest, is it? Like, Frano Fazic has scored 15 times this year. Now, obviously, some of those would have come in that inside forward role, but most of them didn't, in all honesty. Most of them came with him playing through the middle. He has been spectacular in terms of goals scored, it's fair to say. And assists as well. It's slightly better. It's 12 assists and 15 goals for Fazic in less minutes as well. So he's dominating on the goals scored, and he's equally as good as Callum Gribben in terms of assists. Gribben creates more chances, interestingly. So there is that, and he's definitely got less cross completion, but that might be because Gribben's had less crosses to complete, whereas Fazic would have actually been in charge of crossing the ball because he would have played on the wide position, whereas Gribben never has. Not this year, anyway. Passes, well, I mean, look at that. 84, dead even, but look at this. Gribben makes a lot more actual passes, which means a couple of things. Either he is just controlling the game better, or he's dwelling on the ball and not actually looking up and getting his head up to try and play a key pass. So, but that being said, he has played more key passes per 90 minutes too, so I guess that one kind of goes out the window and suggests that Frano Fazic is more of a sort of auxiliary striker when he plays in that attacking midfield role, which is fine, but I think it means he's doing less for the build-up and mainly trying to score chances himself. So it makes me wonder if perhaps when Frano Fazic plays there, we tend to go more through the middle than using those wings, which has definitely helped us in those games without our quality wingers. Having Fazic in there, he's probably part of the reason why we've got promoted, frankly, because of he carried us on his back for basically 2 months when we were missing John Okoro and Liam Miller. Frano Fazic basically carried this team. Wins less headers, as you would expect, but he does hit the target an awful lot more than Callum Gribben. I mean, like, to a ridiculous extent. What's his finishing like? He does have 10 finishing. What about composure? 13 composure. Whereas Callum Gribben has got 13 finishing and 13 composure. You feel like he'd be hitting the target a lot more than Fazic, but he's actually doing a lot worse. He has less shots on target per 90 minutes. He dribbles a lot less, which is really weird, considering he's got 17 dribbling. And Fazic only has 13, but Fazic just picks the ball up and he runs with it. But again, because he's playing out wide, so there is that. It's a weird one, because I like them both, and I think they could both do a job in the Premier League, to be perfectly honest. And I feel like if there's any part of this team where we're not exactly lacking in quality, it is the attacking midfield role. Like, they're both 4-star ability. One's got 5-star potential, one's got 4.5-star potential. They are both fantastic players. And if there's one area in the team that I really don't think we need to strengthen, certainly not with a first-team quality player, it is this role. I might still pick up someone like Carlos Toril because they're young and could potentially give us some more backup in that role, because we are a bit thin here. But I don't think we need to sign a first-team choice player in this role, because we actually look between them. They've got, 21 goals and 24 assists. Between us, over 40 goals they've contributed to this season. So I think we're all right in this position, really. I'm fairly pleased with it. I am still worried about Frano Fasic's mercenary personality, because he's the kind of player that could force a move. And if someone was to trigger that 15 mil release clause, then so be it, really. They will do that and I'll shift that money somewhere else, basically. It's annoying, but we might try and get him on a new deal to try and get rid of the release clause, but often they'll just want even bigger release clauses. So yeah, let's look at the wingers now. Okay, so wingers. Now, I'm going to put Fasic in here too, because I want to see how he compares with some of the stats that we use to judge wingers. Now, I'm not going to be too harsh on him or benefiting him, because again, his stats will be skewed by him playing in other roles, but things like crossing percentage and stuff like that I'm kind of interested in. So most minutes played on the wing, of course, is John Okoro. 42 appearances. He actually only missed 4 matches this year with that injury. But I think we were very, very poor without him in the team, to be honest. It's fair to say. Top goal, right, most goals per 90 minutes, Liam Miller. 0.67. Oh, God. You can tell that if he'd played the same number of games as John Okoro, he'd probably be on like 22, 23 league goals. And those extra 7 goals could have just seen us comfortably take the title. Like, really, really comfortably. When you look at someone like Niall Ennis, it's far, far lower. I mean, look at that. Liam Miller's goals per 90 minutes ratio is 3 times better than Niall Ennis. And that is really, really crucial in terms of what we needed. You can see why we were so bad without him. Amar was okay compared to John Okoro when he came in, but there was still sort of like a 25% drop-off, or like 20% drop-off in terms of his output from going forward. So it's noticeable in a game. You know, if you're going to have 5 shots and, you know, John Okoro, or if you have like 10 shots, for example, John would score 2 goals, whereas Amar would only score 1, and that wins you points at the end of the day. What about assists per 90 minutes? Again, Liam Miller, vastly better than Niall Ennis, and even Frano Fasic, frankly. Even if you take into his account his middle-of-the-pitch play, he still dominates these guys completely. Ben Amar, better at the assisting side of the game, but still, you know, still a 25% drop-off, or 20% over John Okoro, which is definitely a noticeable difference over the course of many games. And Liam Miller's output there over Niall Ennis is completely astronomical. It's even more than 3 times better. He is an absolute phenom at this point. Now, chances created per 90 minutes. This is interesting. John Okoro out top and Ben Amar not too bad in behind there. Liam Miller still the best by far, but not quite as big a gap, but it's still noticeable. It's still sort of like 30% better. So, yeah, it's interesting how that all sort of has shaped up. I guess you could argue that maybe they've had a different player playing up front, but, you know, Tammy Ben Amar's done an okay job at getting in there and replacing John Okoro from a creative standpoint, but he's not done as well from an attacking output, and I think that's very, very noticeable. Chances created, oh, that's crosses, isn't it? Chances created, we've already done that anyway. Cross completion, this is important now. John Okoro, 24%. Ben Amar, 22%. Oh, hello. Niall Ennis, 20%. Although he has only put in... That's very interesting, actually. Niall Ennis put in a lot of balls, and twice as many of them actually connected than Liam Miller. I guess it's because Liam Miller isn't crossing the ball as much as he is passing. He has a habit of cutting inside and slipping the ball to John Okoro rather than crossing it in, and that might be part of the problem, whereas Ennis is playing more like a winger than an inside forward, and that might have been the real problem here. Whereas Frano Fasic plays more like Liam Miller when he's in the team, and I can see why we performed better when Frano Fasic is in the team. That is very, very interesting. That's what I'm thinking in my head anyway, that Niall Ennis is actually trying to drive crosses in rather than running himself and actually passing it to someone like John Okoro on the other side, whereas that seems to be what Miller does a lot more, because you can see, like, Ennis played like half the number of games, and well, not as many, actually he's played a fair number of minutes, but that's interesting. I'm pleased to notice that. Niall Ennis, again, number of passes completed is around about the same. John Okoro doesn't complete that many passes, but I guess he doesn't need to, really. Key passes per 90 minutes. Ben Amar is actually better at that than John Okoro. Liam Miller, again, much better than Niall Ennis. It's undeniable there. Frano Fasic slightly higher, but again, the midfield situation. But this is the thing. Shots on target, 70%. John Okoro, 68%. Now, Ben Amar, 62% is not bad. You can see why we weren't quite so bothered when we lost John Okoro, because Ben Amar was like a slight step down rather than a massive one, whereas Ennis, it's 45%. I mean, you are literally sacrificing 25% of the shots on target there from someone like Liam Miller. Now, obviously, that could be a bit of a blip over the course of a full season, but that is certainly something worth talking about. Shots on target per 90 minutes, again, Miller has more shots. Ennis isn't shooting anywhere near as much. Dribbles per game. Fazic and Ennis do like a good dribble, that's for sure. Okoro up there too. Miller, that's interesting, because you feel like he dribbles quite a lot, but I guess he sort of just takes it inside and slips it off. It's very interesting that his dribbling stat is as low as it is, to be honest. And Ben Amar, again, I guess he's not getting into quite such good positions. That might be why his output isn't as good as John Okoro's. It's definitely worth looking at. They all had a man of the match award for us this year, which is quite interesting. I think Ennis got that in the one against Luton where he came off the bench and scored twice. So, the wingers. John Okoro, I'm quite content to start him in the Premier League next year. Liam Miller, I'm quite content to start him in the Premier League next year. But I feel like, obviously, Ben Amar is going to go out on loan. He's going to go back to his parent club. And Niall Ennis, I think, will probably move on in the summer because I just don't believe he's got the quality at the moment. I do want to sign a better backup on that left-hand side who's around about the same quality as Liam Miller, if I can do. But he's going to be lower down the priority list. So if we can't, then we won't. But if the money's there and the player is there, then I will pick someone up that can do a much better job as a stand-in for Liam Miller. Because if we were to lose him again, well, we've seen what it's like without him, and you've seen what it's like with him. Like, his second game back from injury, when he still isn't fully match fit, scores a hat-trick against Millwall to take us to the Premier League. I mean, that is big game mentality, right? That is big dick energy, if ever I've seen it. So, yeah, right-hand side, again, we want to sign someone to understudy John Okoro again, maybe someone young. John Okoro doesn't seem to have any injury problems. 42 matches he started for us this year. He had that one slight knock, but he recovered bloody quickly. And I still want to make sure he's got a decent understudy, but it's not like top of my list of priorities at this point. Maybe someone young with high potential that can, take a back seat to him a little bit. Right, final one. I know this has been a long episode, guys. I'll have to cut it down a fair amount, but I just want to really give you some bit deeper analysis than usual even, since it is the last one of the lower leagues, so to speak. Right, let's go look at the fullbacks, the strikers rather. Honestly, I was going to put someone like Thorpe or Stubbs in that, but they've played so few minutes that it is basically pointless trying to analyse their stats over the course of 100 minutes of football. It's just not worth doing. This I'm going to be very, very interested in, because I do wonder if maybe I made a mistake putting Duro in over Adam Idah. Maybe there was some errors there, but he was just performing so well and Idah had his injury issues. So I do wonder if there was some problems there. So minutes-wise, he's played 3 times, basically the number. Not quite 3 times, but a fair amount more. Goals per game. Adam Idah, more goals per game. 12 goals in... Well, goals per 90 minutes, more importantly. Whereas, he's got 12 goals. Duro's got 27 in 48 appearances. But that is interesting. Adam Idah scored more goals per 90 minutes when he was on the pitch. And that isn't a negligible amount. That is sort of... if over the same number of games, that sort of puts Idah on 32 goals a season, around that sort of mark there. So those extra goals, again, you think maybe if we had him in the team, we'd score a few more goals. And again, it's the same with assists. Adam Idah, just that little bit more in terms of assists. He's setting up his teammates. Has he got better passing than Duro? He's got 10 passing and 11 vision, whereas Duro has 9 passing and 12 vision. So it's negligible, but Idah again, and it's a reasonable sample size to judge Adam Idah on. But again, most of Idah's games played in that early part of the season. However, the reason we had that slump in the second half of the year might be because we weren't playing these players. It's fair to say. That being said, Duro does seem to create more chances when he's in the team. And again, that is not a negligible amount. That's quite a difference of 0.14 more chances per 90 minutes. Crosses completed. Adam Idah puts more crosses in and completes more crosses. And strikers, I feel like I deserve to have a look at this one, because often with a single striker system, they'll run into the channel and put the ball across for one of the wingers. So it's worth looking at that Idah, again, put more crosses in and completed more of them than Duro. He has a slightly better pass completion ratio. Passes completed per 90 minutes is relatively the same. Key passes per 90 minutes, though, he does fall slightly short of Adam Idah, of Duro on that one. So Duro does win one category, that's for sure. Shots on target percentage, Adam Idah is into the 60s, which is, again, over the course of a year, would probably account for this difference. 6% better shooting probably would account for why he's got more goals per 90 minutes. He's just slightly better hitting the shots on target. They're exactly the same on that one. Duro shoots a little bit more. Idah wins more headers, I presume, because he's slightly taller. He's 6'1" compared to Duro, who's 5'11". So we might have done slightly better from set pieces with that. He's won 5% more headers. He's dribbling a bit more. We don't have his headers 1 per game. He runs a bit more. I do wonder, if maybe we'd done that slightly bit better if I'd just stuck to what we were doing. Because at the start of the season, what were we doing? We had Adam Idah as our starting striker. That's what we were doing. And then when he got injured, Duro was doing okay, But maybe I should have brought Adam Idah back into the squad, given him a run of games again to see if we could get him back up to speed. And maybe that was a big mistake on my part, frankly, because I'm looking at this, and yes, 27 goals is good, but in a season where we've scored 129 league goals, you'd feel like your leading striker should be getting at least sort of 30, 35 in that sort of season. And maybe that's what Adam Idah would have done had I given him the chance. And maybe that ship has sailed now. So perhaps in the summer, obviously Duro's coming back next year, but perhaps we need to be modelling a potential striker signing, not on Duro, but on Adam Idah, someone who's big, good finishing, decent sort of strength and pace to just get in behind and make things happen, maybe with good passing, those sort of stats. Perhaps that's where we need to be looking. Obviously, those are all the sort of things you want for a striker, but I think maybe we want to be looking in the Adam Idah mould rather than the Duro mould. I think he offers less to the team as a whole, but does still score a decent number of goals when he gets in his positions. That's where we're up to at this point. I've been recording for an hour and 10 minutes now, and I still have to edit 4 videos, one of which has to go up tonight. So yeah, if you have enjoyed this, drop a like on the video, of course, to let me know you want to see me keep doing them. The word of the day, since it's on my desk right now, is Benylin, chesty coughs, or non-drowsy. I don't know, it's more cold medicine that M has obviously left on my desk. This one actually isn't for me for once. So yeah, if you haven't enjoyed it, drop a like on the video, that'd be awesome. And if you're new to the channel, and this for some reason is the first video of mine that you've chosen to watch, why? But also hit the subscribe button, that'd be awesome as well. And I'll join you guys in the next episode tomorrow for transfer window, Premier League goodies, and a pimp costume. I can see it to my right. There's a hat and everything. You're gonna love it. See you guys soon. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.